Hi, welcome. It is January 3rd, 2024. Like we made it so far, right? Every day is a new day. Happy New Year. I am very excited. This is my first time. I should be live on Instagram as well. Um, New year, new me, right? Let's try something new. All right, so tonight I am going to go over 4 cards using the detailed Dogwood stamp set. It is a level 2 celebration item. And let's see, let's talk a little bit first about one of the favorite things that I got for Christmas. I hope you got some cool stuff. So I'm going to share this little bee. I have always been a fan of honeybees, and Lynn bought this for me this year so that I could add it to this beautiful backdrop that I have with my create and all of my flowers. So at some point, maybe this weekend, she'll go up on the wall and we can be creative. And I have always loved honeybees in particular. So one of those little things that you grow up seeing and doing. My dad used to work, he was a mechanic, but he worked at the Doyle Connor building in Gainesville and in Florida for the University of Florida. And they had these beehives and they had this library of insects preserved. And I absolutely loved going to visit. And sometimes they would have like a live beehive and you would try to find the queen bee. And that was always fun. So I've just had all of these memories and of bees. Love them, love them, love them. So this year, I really ended up going a little bee crazy. So at the end of February, there will be, or the beginning of February, there will be a bee themed stamp camp that has a lot of fun extras. Anyhow, we're just going to move on to the detailed Dogwood. So that is, as I said earlier, a level 2 celebration item. If you don't know what celebration is, ask me in the comments, hit me up on any of the social media platforms that you are viewing me on, and I will tell you a little bit more about it in private. It doesn't start until tomorrow, so I can't open these and share with you the photos of the beautiful items inside. However, I can show you the items that I have already created from the things that are inside. So we are going to be using, I had to readjust and now I have lost my stamp set. So we're going to be using Detailed Dogwood and Hope You Know. Hope You Know is from our regular annual catalog, and it's all these sentiments, lots of them to choose from. I actually really wanted to use more of them, but it just didn't happen for this particular class. So this is a $24 set in the annual catalog. And then this is the stamp set we're going to use this evening. I have a lot of them pre-mounted on my clear acrylic blocks, and let's go ahead and get started. So this very first card was inspired by Polly Libby, who used a freshly made sketch challenge to create her card. And then I essentially take bits and parts from her card to create my own card. So this is the card we're about to make. I actually created this card last because I felt like some of my other cards were getting a little too involved. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I like to have a variety of levels for you to work from. So let's put this one aside and let me share what your kit would look like. If you decide you want one, you know the rules. Just find me, let me know. There are links on some of the platforms. So you can find that out. It's also on my website. And if you don't get my newsletter, send me a message. I'll get you on my newsletter list because the instructions for how to get these kits are there in full details. All right, so I started with Pretty Peacock. I chose to use these from the new mini called Petal Pink and Pretty Peacock Foiled Gems. Oh, if you can see the gold flecks in there. Trying to get that under the camera just right, but obviously I'm directionally challenged on camera views as well. So those two gems are just gorgeous together. These two colors are beautiful together. And after I started making all of these projects, I was like, I have to have something with Pretty Peacock. So this is that card. So even though it was number 4 on my original list, I've moved it up to number 1 so that you could see it. Now, this paper that I'm about to use is a softly stippled designer series paper. And you can see that each paper has 2 sides, and these are the patterns on each side. We also have our coordinating cardstock that goes with it. Remember, that's one of the favorite things for me about Stampin' Up! Is that it does not matter. I can use this and go with those colors that they have in the designs, and they're all going to match. I remember back in the day when I first started scrapbooking, oh my gosh, it was mismatch everything until someone introduced me to a company that color coordinated as well. And then I found Stampin' Up, which, whew, thank goodness, right? So with Stampin' Up's products, we have this color coordination that is just out of this world. All of our papers, while they come in packs instead of singles, they are listed with all of the colors that the designers have used to put those papers together. Our papers are typically created from actual artwork designs. So I know in the past we have had like the oil pour type of paint pouring that was done, and then they created prints from that, and that was what our designer series paper was. So a lot of cool stuff goes into creating these, and again, they all coordinate and match. So that you can use any of those colors, and typically you cannot go wrong. Our inks, our papers, the cardstock, the Stampin' Blends, our markers, you name it, they all coordinate. So that has definitely been, I mean, unless you are a designer or an artist, and I do not claim to be, it is not always something that is easy. I do have a color wheel, so I do like to check out, you know, primary, secondary, what opposites are, tertiary colors, those kinds of things. But unless you're studying that kind of thing, you're not going to be an expert at it. So I let the designers, the artists, do the hard parts for me. I like to recreate. I like to design from inspiration pieces. A rug might turn into a quilt at my house. So you never know where you might find some inspiration. All right, so we're getting ready to do some of our stamping. I went ahead and loaded up all of these designer series papers and cardstock with the base. And one of my goals is to have no naked insides and no naked envelopes. So I'm working on the envelope thing still, but only because I send so many cards, I don't always put the envelopes with every single card until I get ready to send it. So that's what we do. All right, I'm going to use a blending brush. One of tonight's colors is that Petal Pink, and I'm simply going to stamp our stamp in the center of my basic white cardstock here. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this ink right on my blending brush. And I'm going to start on the edge or off of the paper. And then I'm just going to slowly swirl this color on here. Because I am using the Glass Matte Studio, I will wipe this up in between different pieces just because I am adding a little shadow of ink onto this Glass Matte Studio. And I don't want to possibly wear it or add it to other areas of the card. All right, so if I want it darker, I add more layers. So let's go ahead and add just a tiny bit more around these corners here, especially. It's kind of like makeup, you know, if you want a more covered look, you add more layers of foundation. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. All right, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm just using a microfiber cloth tonight. I don't have a need for the wet aspect of the chamois to go on there. So next I'm going to stamp and cut out these flowers. Okay. Set this aside. So I need this. And one of the cool things about this flower is that it actually coordinates with our Petal Park Builder Punch. So I'm going to be able to stamp this, and now I can cut that out pretty easily with that Petal Park Punch Builder. Ooh, Petal Park Builder Punch. That would be easier to say 3 times. I am going to line this up so that those little notches line up. I'm going to squeeze that out, and there we have it. Okay, now I did pre-punch a couple. We're going to do a couple of these, so I will use these and get them out of the way. Now, I like the look of the 3D flower versus just a flat flower. Let's see if I can put them on here and show a little closer what that might look like. Okay, so you see how this one has more dimension to it, and these are just flat. So this is how you get that look. When you purchase a Take a Pick tool, it comes with some extra items that you can swap out. And one of those is the ball ends that you can do embossing. And I just pull this out. I don't even attach it to the tool most of the time. And I just kind of rub in a circle on a sponge pad, foam pad. And I just kind of go in a circle in the center there. And then if you want, you can kind of go out on each petal just in the center. And that kind of curls it up just a little bit. All right. So that gives you that extra little bit of dimension there. So let's go ahead and assemble this. I do want to put my flowers up on dimensionals. And I am using my Take a Pick tool to pull all the backings off. I have found that my nails just are not gripping quite well, except obviously the sticky parts. And I shifted this over to the left-hand side of the card. And on 2 of these, I am going to use a mini dimensional. And then on one of them, I'm just going to use a teeny tiny dot of glue because it's going to be up on the card here. And I want to make sure that my levels are okay so that when I send this in the mail, it is going to go through just fine. So I've got one up here, and then this one is going to be off on this flat layer here. And now this one's going to get a teeny dot of glue. So I'm going to shake this just a little bit and I'm going to add it to this. And I am running low on this. So let's do a tiny dot of this glue instead. And then I'll go grab a regular glue in between. Ooh, old lady eyes happening here. So if you get one of these, you might want a magnifying glass. Occasionally, I have a hard time getting the pin back in. I have actually used my sewing pins before. There we go. Because it was easier to get my sewing pin in there, and then I was able to get that back together. But so if you can see, let's see, my focus is not great up close. You can't even see there is a tiny itty bitty dot of glue on there, and it will be enough to hold this in place. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of our petal pink ribbon. This actually comes in a duo with the lemon lime twist. So I'm just going to make a little bow and add this on the corner. And you can use a glue dot or literally a dab of glue for this part as well. I prefer using my glue dots. They hold them very well. So let me get my bow looking pretty. Pull this down a little bit. Somebody was talking about needing to perfect their on-camera bow making because they get nervous. And I chuckled and thought I just look like a goofball some days when I make the bows on live camera. But, you know, we all have our perks, right? Things that we're good at and things that we aren't. Hi, Karen. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. All right, so we're going to add this petal pink bow right on the corner here. I could have done a whole host of things. If you've been around, you know bows can go everywhere. I'm going to add some of these pretty peacock gems on here. I think that they are just really that pretty. I mean, whoever named it got it right. All right, so there is card number 1. Again, that was inspired by another demonstrator who was inspired by a design challenge. So you can always look for sketch challenges on the platforms, all of them, Pinterest, YouTube. There are design sketches everywhere to inspire you. So that is card number 1. Get those out of the way. All right, so we'll move into card number 2. So card number 2 is a little bit of a fun fold. It's got a couple of different layers here and a little bit of stamping. So I started with a regular card base, and inside we're just going to stamp thinking of you today. Here it is. Ooh, a little loud there. And I used some old olive and petal pink for this card. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp first, because I want to put some of these things out of the way. Now on my card it was a little crooked, so let me see if I can line everything up a little better. Not too bad. That looks pretty good. I'll take it. All right, so then I'll move this aside. So there's nothing else stamped on the front of this. Make sure I have the right piece. Okay, so this piece is going to get some petal pink as well as some leaves in this green, this olive green. I'm going to put that down there to remind me. I'm going to grab this, and this is just a cute little design. Let's see if this will show it a little bit better. There you go. So we're going to use this here. Okay. And I basically kind of went back and forth to give this little petal pink backdrop that we will put our flowers and leaves on. There was no science behind this. I did not measure. I just kind of eyeballed it. I went back and forth until I was pleased with it. So there you go. Okay, nice and simple. And then I took my leaves and I wanted one down on this side here. And then I'm going to put the other one over here. Ooh, did you catch that on screen? I hope not. I almost put my green in that beautiful petal pink. That would not have been beautiful. All right, and then put that one right there. So now I have my leaves out of the way. And we're going to stamp and punch 3 more of our flowers. I will use this one because it's here. And I do need to re-ink this pad, so I'm kind of using the edges as much as possible. Tap, tap, tapping away. All right. So again, I'm going to line these up. I'm going to start with this outer edge because I do not want to chop half of one of these flowers off. So 1, 2, and 3. And if you're really good, you can make a big, ginormous mess with all of these. So then I just do this and get those out of the way because I'll be wearing them. Now again, I'm going to put these on my foam mat and grab that little stylus. I'm going to go ahead and I'm using the big end. It just works the best for me. I don't want it to destroy the paper. I just want to give it a little bit of a curve. And the more you use the stylus on it, the more the paper kind of separates. So you can get some really interesting effects by doing that, but that's not the effect we're going for tonight. Okay, so now I'm going to grab that glue that I mentioned I needed. No, I'm just going to use this one again. I have glue in the other room. So just a little tiny bit of glue, and I'm going to stagger these two. I'm using that theory of 3 to put these on. I'll wipe that dot off. Okay, so now we're going to add those embellishments, and then we will stick everything together. I really think it's time for me to get a magnifying glass for this part. I have one for when I sew. And I already have bifocals, so I should be able to see this. There we go. There you go. If you have bad eyes, this is not the glue, the glue for you. Take hints, Nicole. Take hints. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add an inside layer of stamping. This is going to go on the inside. So let's go ahead and kind of see what this looks like. So it's a double card. So you have your big card is the back, and then you have a little card on the front. So we have this beautiful, no sentiment, just gorgeous little framed looking piece of floral here. And then you've got the flower here with our dragonfly and hello friend. This is one you can take as far as you would like creatively. It does not have to be fancy. I did end up using my Petal Pink blends a little bit to kind of get that colored on the inside. So I'm going to get some of these things out of the way so I can stamp and color that inside layer. And because I had so much bulk on this card, this is not going to go up on dimensionals. Simply going to layer it on here with glue or Stampin' Seal. I'm going to go ahead and add these because they'll be done. And I just stuck some inside each flower. And then I added 3 on the top. So it doesn't completely follow the rule of 3. Okay, so there's that. I did that a little backwards from my sample. Thank goodness there are no card police. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hold off on that last piece because we want to do this one here. And that is going to be this one, but we're going to use our Memento ink. And I'm going to tell you that this is still my most favorite way of using this. So you can get a blank pad and a black Memento refill. When you order this, it comes with the white. Don't put the white on. You want to just put that aside or get a second pad for the white and just do the refill for the black. And it stamps so beautifully, especially for larger pieces. So just a really helpful hint there. Let me look at my samples so I can get everything in the right place. Okay, so I put my flowers over here. And then I have the dragonfly coming in to sample the flowers. And then I have my hello friend, and I did do that in green. So let's go ahead and switch that out. That pulls that green from the front back in. And I just added that on the side here. And then I colored just a little bit of my dogwoods here. They have like a peachy pink coloring, so not a lot. Just kind of dab this on there. If you want to, you can add some of your green to the leaves. I probably should have used the lighter green, but we can go on top of that and it will lighten it up just a little bit. After it blends and dries, it'll lighten it. There we go. Okay. So now we can add this to the inside of the top layer. I think I'm almost out. I'm going to show you another trick. So sometimes you'll get a little bit of glue in here and it will kind of interfere with your tape runner. And this is what I have learned to kind of fix it when you know you're not out. So I take it apart and I lay it down. I lift up the large cog and I just forward advance to the right the smaller cog. And that just takes the second layer that's covering the glue on the bottom layer and puts it back where it belongs. And now I will not waste any of my tape. So just a little trick I have learned. Some of my tape runners get destroyed a little too quickly, and I finally figured out what was happening. So there you have it. Hopefully that will help you in your time of need. All right, so now the next part is to put some adhesive on here. It's going to be easier since I added my embellishments to just go ahead and add it while it's open here. But then I am going to close it. And I like to turn my card sideways. It's some reason I can center things better this way. And there you have card number 2. Hello, friend. Thinking of you today. It's kind of funny. I have a friend that I was thinking of, and she texted me this morning. And I just find it amusing when that happens, when you're thinking of somebody and they're thinking of you at the same time. And it's even more special when it's always a happy message. So it's always fun. Okay, I'm going to take a quick second and clean off some of my stamps because I really don't want to wear this. I did use the Memento, and I find using the Stays On cleaner for the Memento is really nice. So it's just a microfiber and the Stays On cleaner, and it just really cleans this really well. And then I can put that aside. Same thing for this. Oh, well, it'll clean anything. I didn't need to use it for this one. And then I have another tip for you, actually. So I do not have the brain capacity to always remember to go and wet and soak and rinse my my chamois before I come and start creating. And so, you know, it's a hot mess when you need to clean your inks, right? So I have 2 different methods that I use. Move this card out of the way. I use our Stampin' Scrub, and I also have a chamois. And then I keep a handy dandy spray bottle around, and it is really helpful so that I don't have to go and interrupt my daughter while she is taking a shower or run to the kitchen in the other room. And I just spritz one of these sides so that I can clean up my inks pretty quickly on there. So we're going to do that so we can have nice and clean stamps ready to go for the next card. And I have a dry side, but because I spritzed a couple extra times, it's a little extra wet. All right. And I can just rinse that in the sink when it starts to get a little gross. All right, we'll pull back to this card right here. This is one of the cards that I started with. I really loved this polka dot stamp. So I wanted to make sure I got to use that. And this is a full size Dogwood stamp here, and I did it twice. And then just a simple sentiment on here. So let's go ahead, and because we have a black card base, we want to make sure that we have something on the inside. And I had an extra punched out flower, but this time I'm just going to stamp my flower directly inside. So just do that right there. So that is done and out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and add the adhesive and put this in here. And now we can decorate our outside piece. I don't know what I was doing. I have all kinds of extra paper. It might be what I was supposed to use on the next card and I mixed them up. That happens, I'm human. Okay, so we're going to use that Memento ink again for our polka dots. And we're actually going to use it for stamping our dogwood on the branch. So this is a really long stamp and my ink pad is not that long. Yeah, I just tap it across and then I'm going to line this up so that it is nice and on the edge. And I did get a little bit here, so again, I can use the chamois or I just keep this around because it's dry, and as I mentioned, I don't always have that wherewithal to go and get everything all wet beforehand. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do my sentiment while I have this open. And I will remind everybody that paper has two sides. So if you mess up on one side, you just flip it over. And this just says, truly, deeply grateful. And I'm going to put my head in the way. I'm sorry. See, that's a little crooked. I'm going to turn it over and try again. Not that things have to be exactly straight, but sometimes you want it to be straighter on a card. I don't know if that's any better, but we're going with it. Remember that there are no card police and your cards do not have to be perfect, because if they were, they would just be buying them off the rack at a big box store. So sometimes you're going to have little bits that are not perfect. They're handmade. They have a human element to them. I think that is another reason that I love them so much. Creating. So let's see. I'm going to put this on here as much as possible. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, and then we're going to add a second one. And I mean, I liked that my second one had a branch that kind of peeks out over here. And then we're going to do a little bit of coloring, because that's always fun. For me, I don't mind coloring. I am going to give it just a second to dry before I start. So I'm going to start with my greens. I'm going to go ahead and start with the light green. And I'm going to color in these flowers. And then I'll go back in and add some shadows with the dark old olive. Our blends come in pairs, so you get a light and a dark with each pair, with each color. Now, let's see. I am using the wide end of this Stampin' Blend so that I get the most coverage for the leaves right away. And then I'll go back in with this fine point, and I'm just going to kind of trace where some of those shadows are. It is absolutely not perfect. It's very rustic, but in the end, obviously, it still looks pretty good. So you do not have to be a perfectionist in this area of your life. As a matter of fact, I am a perfectionist in other areas of my life, and so therefore, this is very healing for me, because it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. And what a motto and to have in life, right? You don't have to be perfect to be beautiful. All right, so there are the green leaves. I'm going to go ahead and get our flowers colored in. Again, I'm starting with the, oh, I thought I was starting with the light, but this is actually the dark. And what I'll do, since I started with the dark, is I'll go back and I will use the light on the outer tips. And you can actually layer these as well. So I could have started with the light and gone back over with the dark. And I see a couple leaves that I have missed. This actually reminds me of the brand new walls at the new Truman Early Childhood Center, because they have this beautiful wallpaper that looks like little paintings, and they have some flowers that are not even colored in, yet some of them are. And I'll be there again tomorrow. I might take a picture and share it, because it's such a beautiful school. It definitely makes me want to hop back into the classroom a little bit and hang out with the kiddos more, especially to be in such a gorgeous, gorgeous school. All right, so I'm just going to color in these couple little leaves that I saw. And now my flowers are done. So now I can layer the top. Again, this one's going to go flat on. So I'm going to line this up like this. I did pop up our sentiment on dimensionals. Just goes down here, and then I took 2 strands together of both of these colors, the lemon lime twist and the petal pink, and I simply created a 2 ribbon bow. Let me see if I can do that. And there we have our 2 ribbon bow. And then I will play with it for just a second so that I can have all of the ribbons showing. And then I'll add a glue dot to the back of the ribbon, the nice flat section. If you can see, I just kind of roll this on here and roll it back off, and that glue dot sticks right there. And then I can put this on right on the edge here, and then I can trim the rest of my ribbons. All right, so now I'll just add a couple of those little What are these things called again? These foil gems. Yep, foil gems. Come on. There we go. Sometimes you have to get the putty out just enough so that they'll stick to the putty and not just push around. I'll do 2 of the little ones. Okay, so there is card number 3. All right, I think I can get this in under an hour. I learned that the Instagram live will stop working at an hour, but you can always find the rest of it in full detail on YouTube, just in case you need that. I'm going to save some of those papers because I think I need them for this one. So this one was a little bit of fun and just creativity gone wild. So this card has some sparkle to it. I used our Wink of Stella on here, and you can see I have some raised pieces. So I did cheat a little bit, and I went ahead and stamped what I'm going to cut out in just a moment, but we will stamp on here. Haha, that might be, that is not it. Okay. So we're going to do our inside sentiment, which is "You are the sunshine that brightens so many of my days." We are using our old olive again. And then I am going to clean off this one because we're going to do tone on tone for this on the inside. Let's see if I can just clean this in the water or not. If it'll do a good enough job tonight. Oh, it did. Okay, so cleaned with simply water, no fancy stuff. All right, so I'm going to keep this folded because I'm going to go off of the edge. And basically, we're creating our own background with this stamp and the same color as our paper. So I'm just going to tap this on here, and then I'm going to kind of go off my paper and onto the paper. And twist and turn until I have it all covered. I'm going to come in from this side. And one last little bit in the corner here. Okay, so moving this aside, I've got a little bit of a mess here, but it is going to clean up so easily, just like that. So the next part is, this is the only fussy cutting, really. Aren't y'all excited about that? All right, so fussy cutting means you are going to carefully cut out the images that I have stamped or that you have stamped on your paper. So you can see I'm going to have 3 little pieces here to raise up on the card. And before I raise these up, I'm going to kind of sprinkle the Wink of Stella or splatter it on the background. And then we will color all of our flowers with the Wink of Stella. So this is going to be a very sparkly dogwood card. And I typically don't think I usually go over an hour, but tonight these are some extra special cards. And it is possible because I'm at 51 minutes right now, so we'll see. I don't want to rush too badly because then that's how you make all kinds of errors and oopsies, and can't have too many of those happening, right? Okay, now our last little piece here. So you would have to cut out these flowers on your own from stamp sets that you have, because if you recall, I cannot send stamped images in the mail. So all of the pieces and parts come to you, but you have to use your own stamps, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get this inside out of our way. Okay, I should have like a light outside that tells my household members when I'm live so they know. All right, so I just kind of squeezed this a little bit and then splattered it. I don't want to make too much of a mess. So let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I grabbed a brand new one after I splattered last night. So let me see if I can go ahead and color these in first. Oh, there's some splatter. Got it flowing, so I should be able to splatter in just a moment. Obviously, I cannot color and talk at the same time. Okay, let's see if I can make it splatter now. Well, everywhere but on my card. There we go. Yes, it's a little bit of a mess. All right, put that aside. I'm gonna hold that for a second so it can kind of sort of dry. I'm gonna move these out of the way and go ahead and wipe up the disaster that I nearly made here. Okay. So you can hit this with your heat tool or a hair dryer. I'm gonna just go right on top of it. So I'm gonna put these guys on with dimensionals. And I lined up my straight edges. With the straight edges of the card. So I started in the corner with that little corner piece. This was on top. Let's do this one. Then I did the giant piece next to make sure it went where I wanted it to go. I mean, really, there's so many options. Okay, we're going to go here. Line those up, and then we will add one more up here. Okay, so there is my card. It still has to dry, but that is card number 4, nice and sparkly. I think I smeared it on myself as well. That's the fun part, right? All right, so if you're catching me on replay, I would love to know which card was your favorite. Let's see, this was 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. All right, I'm so glad I made it. It looks like I am just under the hour mark. Not too bad. I hope that your new year has started off wonderfully and that, number 3, or 3, yeah, I think it was that one. Okay. I'm all confused tonight. Okay, I hope your new year has started off as great as mine. Now I remember why people say don't read the comments while you're doing stuff. You're gonna get all messed up. We all do it anyway, right? Okay, so anyhow, Happy New Year. You know how to find me. I'll be here every Wednesday night at 7, except for next Wednesday. I have another meeting scheduled at 7, so I'm gonna try to go live early. Either way, catch me on the replay or on YouTube. I think it's going to be on all 3 of these platforms now, which is kind of exciting if it worked. And that's about it. So have a great Thursday and Friday and enjoy another weekend. And I'll see you all next week. Bye.